Michael Clemens has officially, ironically, become underrated by most of the Jets fan base, and four more unpopular opinions about these 2025 New York Jets. So, with Michael Clemens being not very good and being the Jets' third best edge rusher are not mutually exclusive, right? The Jets penny pinched a fair amount this offseason. Thomas Morris, they're trying to save $2 million here, there. Pretty cheap, pretty frugal first year. And Michael Clemens is sitting out there $4 million. Now, I still think maybe you could try to ask him for a pay cut. If I'm being honest, maybe he's more like a $2.5 million player. We'll see how that shakes out. But why has a second coaching staff decided to keep Michael Clemens? I'm going to wager that they saw a player who, in his rookie season, remember, he was the highest rated run defending edge player by PFF in the entire NFL that had enough snaps to qualify. His second season, he was in the top third in that metric. Last year, he was bad. Like, he was very, very bad last year. But I'm guessing the coaches see, okay, your first 2 years, you were a good run defender. You chipped in a handful of sacks. You played 1/3 of the snaps on a defense in 2022 and in 2023 that were both top 5 to 10 units. Then you were asked to play 55% of the snaps in a defense coached by Jeffrey Wade Ulbrich as head coach. Yeah, I think they're just betting that, like he was in the past couple of years, he could be a player who plays 29 to 34% of your snaps, and you're probably okay. There's no conspiracy as to why Michael Clemens is still on this roster. It's more of a reflection of their lack of depth at edge. He's just simply less bad at football than Eric Watts, Tyler Barron, and the rest of them. That's all there really is to it. On Clemens, he has to knock off the penalties. He has to. He is not. If he's committing a bunch of penalties, then he's almost worse than those guys because he doesn't do enough to overcome for that. But as it stands, he's just their third best edge player right now. If he was cut, he'd probably go on some other team and be their fourth or fifth best edge and be on an NFL roster probably. Hot take number 2. Yeah, you've heard this one before. I'm going to be succinct about it though, and be clear. Having a bad wide receiver 2, while suboptimal and a limiting factor, and something the team should definitely remedy with one of their day 2 picks next year, having a bad wide receiver 2 is not an excuse to not have a functioning offense, because we have two options right now. They're not going to trade for a wide receiver 2 in the next 2 weeks, I don't think. So option A, throw up our hands, say, guess what? We're going to have a bottom 10 scoring offense for the 11th year in a row. There is absolutely nothing we could do about it. No team in NFL history has taken a good offensive line, a strong running game, a top 15 receiver, a tight end you just drafted, a couple of good backs, and some veteran wide receivers, and a 4th-round pick, speedster, and ever cooked up an offense that could be functional. Okay, that's the scarcity mindset you could have. You could have that mindset. All right, that's an option. It is a free country. Option B is to say, hey, what did the Broncos do when their wide receiver 1 was Cortland Sutton and their wide receiver 2 was Marvin Mims, and they had the 10th highest scoring offense in the league last year? What did the Washington Commanders do to have Olamide Zaccheaus as their wide receiver 2, who's just like a 400 to 500 yard guy, and they had the 5th best offense in the NFL? Well, those teams have Sean Payton and Jay and Daniel. Okay, well, no one's asking them to be top 5, top 10. We're asking for top 20. And if you can't be top 20, then you sucked at least 3 more important things than wide receiver 2. Your quarterback wasn't good enough. Your offensive coordinator wasn't good enough. Your offensive line was injured. Garrett was injured, because a wide receiver 2 isn't mitigating you being screwed without Garrett Wilson. Sign Amari Cooper. Garrett Wilson goes down. You are just as screwed as you were before, right? So given good offensive line play, a legit wide receiver 1, and an effective running game, either your combination of quarterback and head coach are capable of elevating role players to have a wide receiver 2, to have a functional offense with a bad wide receiver 2, or they're not. Some people say, well, Fields just sucks. Okay, then wide receiver 2 doesn't matter. So which one is it? Either Engstrand and Fields are capable enough, given that it's not like you have no offensive line. If there was no offensive line and no running game, and we knew that Fields had Adam Gase, that's not the case. No, a wide receiver 2 being the difference between offensive competence and offensive disaster has happened. Carry the 1. That's fine. 0 times in NFL history. Name me the team. You cannot. So let's not go into the season with an excuse saying you have to be a bottom 5 offense off rip. No, enough of that. We did it last year. We had multiple top 20 receivers, couldn't score more points than Andy Dalton. Enough is enough. Number three, the Jets safety tandem might be the team's biggest weakness, honestly. I think even more so than wide receiver or even defensive line, although defensive line has been improved recently. Maybe Malachi Moore will come to the rescue sooner rather than later. But as it stands right now, I do think the combination of Tony Adams and Andre Cisco are going to be a liability in the run game. And they're both going to get some interceptions. Like one of those two guys will probably be your team leader in picks. They're both capable of getting 3-4 picks, but they're going to get gamble and give up a lot of explosives. Obviously, it was an extreme example with the play in the preseason with Cisco. But those gaffes, like he Cisco gives it and Cisco takes it away, man. So I think it's a weakness. Now, I can't kill the process. You signed a 25-year-old to a cheap deal, hoping you could coach him up. Glenn coached up safeties very well in Detroit. And you drafted one with a fourth pick, which is kind of high for safety, not a premium position. So I'm not killing the process. I'm just saying, like, not all the holes are going to be filled year one. And I think that could be a weakness of the team that's not talked about as much as other weaknesses, like wide receiver 2, like, edge depth and whatever else the case may be. Number 4, the Jets should be able to run the ball, even though the defense knows that's what they're going to do. That doesn't mean they'll necessarily have a good offense or win games, but I'm not worried about the rushing offense because Justin Fields, we have evidence of him being a quarterback on teams that had good rushing offenses, even though they knew the rushing offense was coming. Like in 2022 and 2023, the Chicago Bears were top 6 in both rush yards and in rush yards per attempt. Actually, number 1 in rush yards per attempt in 2022. That wasn't their issue. That wasn't why the Bears were losing games. Fields averages 6.1 rush yards per attempt in his career. So when he's getting 750, maybe even more, 800, he's had over 1,000 in his career. If he's your first or second leading rusher and he's averaging 6 yards per clip, you're going to have a fine rushing offense. That's not the worry to me. And the Jets have the personnel to just line up and ball. You know what's coming. Here you go. Braylon Allen behind AVT and Armand Membu and right into your teeth. Try and stop it. And when you start leaning your front towards that way, Fields is going to pull it and go in the C gap to the left, and he's going to get 8 yards and slide down. And so they're going to be able to run the ball. That's not my concern with this offense. Take number 5. This is my concern with this offense. The only number that matters with Justin Fields, all the stats, because to be honest, you could live with now, given the fact that he's giving you 700-800 yards on the ground, because these passing numbers would be very bad for a statue quarterback. But assuming he's giving you 750 yards, 7-8 rushing touchdowns, you could live with his last 17 games, which is 63% completions, 2-1 touchdown interceptions, 7.0 yards per attempt. Okay, you can live with some of that stuff for a very mobile quarterback. You cannot live with his 12.2% sack rate. Can't live with it. This offense that is trying to live for 3rd and 2, you put them behind and then down in distance like that, it's a death sentence. They won't survive it. I'd almost rather him throw more picks and get the ball out. And we know that in his career, when other quarterbacks come in for the same offense as Fields, both in Chicago and Russell Wilson, the sack rate has declined every single time another quarterback has gone in for him. Even Russell Wilson, who loves to sack himself as much as the next guy, it still went down. All right. It goes down an average of about 4.5 to 5%. The sack rate decreases when another quarterback steps in for Fields. Now, they didn't win a lot more games because they didn't have his mobility or whatever else. It was like Trevor Siemian who came in Chicago. It wasn't guys who were good, but they proved that him being sacked a lot was not exclusively a referendum on his offensive line play. Has to get the ball out. That's why in the preseason game, like, he missed that one pass, and I'm like, cool, ball was out. Throw the ball behind Garrett. I'm like, sweet, ball out, man. You got to get that ball out in under 2.75 seconds, and this offense will have a fighting chance. And we'll talk about soon.